Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see, I've got the tie on, and we've got the top hollow music going on in the background, and as always, you know what that means. It is time for some more Pokemon Sleep news. Well, we got some crazy stuff going on right now. Second anniversary coming right up. We now just got some event details just dropped about the second anniversary event. Now, it looks pretty similar to last year, but there's some pretty big changes, and I kind of wanted to discuss that stuff, and we got a surprise drop tonight that I also wanted to discuss. Now, this isn't as exciting as my videos normally are when discussing the news. I am excited about what's coming up, but there are also some things that I'm not too excited about, and we'll kind of discuss that as time goes on. So, let's just hop right into it. So, we were told and shown, we already saw this image before, the Hoenn starters were already guaranteed, but we actually recently just got news that they're actually adding an additional duo of Plusle and Minun. Now, as for how the actual event works, it's working very similarly to last year. There's a collection of missions that we'll have throughout the course of the week. Something very interesting that changed. Last week, week 1 was Greengrass Island exclusive. Week 2 was at all areas. This time around, it is all areas both weeks. So we're not forced to go to Greengrass week 1. I do like that. Gives us more flexibility on what we can do. Gives more incentive for leveling up later islands, and doesn't force us on Greengrass so often, as so many players complained about for events for a while. Now, as far as how the actual event boosts go, there are a couple of interesting changes here. Last year, we had that Pokemon pseudo-balance sleep, which that is carried over for the full duration of the event. We also had a bonus of research XP multiplied by 1.5 times, and a limited time dream gifts throughout every day of the week. Now, or throughout every day of both weeks. Now this year, notably, we don't have dream gifts for both weeks. We only have it for the first week. And that same thing is true for that Helper Pokemon Sleep XP. So, they notably took that away from the second week. And the second week is a lot more stripped down for what it is. The first week is a bit stronger because last year, the number of candies gained through Sleep Research XP, or Sleep Research, was multiplied by 1.5 times. Now they've moved that to the first week. So they've increased the buffs on the first week and then dropped down the second week to just bonus meal strength and mini candy boost, which it had last year as well. But there's one notable difference that wasn't there last year that they haven't stripped away, and they've actually added on. It's this new limited time feature that gives various research bonuses that will be available. Details to be announced at a later date. So it seems like we're actually going to be getting more news about this. We don't know how this is going to work, but there actually is some slight hints as to what it could be. For any of you that are in the Discord and follow along with Rain on X's data mine reports, or if you watched Iben Brown's live stream on the night of the last maintenance, you would know that this was a thing that they put out. Now, credits to Rain on X. There's almost is always the case when it comes to data mine stuff. He was one of the first and forefront people to post this sort of thing. They said that in the version 2.1.0 known data mine, they found something called Event HF with something called a Happy Seed that's related to Event HF. What that could mean, we have no clue. There's some speculation as to what HF could stand for, but it's got different flower color buffs and possibly item rewards. So this is really all we know about it, is this like single sentence or like couple sentences from the data mine, and this one little news. We don't even know if this is this, but it very well could be, and that's why I mention it here. And hopefully this, whatever this is powerful enough that it makes up for the fact that the second week is getting severely nerfed compared to what it was last year. With having some of these bonuses and not, and getting it as well. Now, certain Pokemon are more likely to appear is still carried over. It said that last time across both weeks, just because they had different appearance rates, but this time they've condensed it down to just one thing for all days. So, overall, as far as the boosts go, mostly the same with some mild changes. And one very confusing new boost. But other notable things, they said during the second week there'll be the new limited time feature, which is the notable thing that I was talking about. Plus, there will be various other bonuses, such as the opportunity to use mini candy boost, On this day of the second anniversary, so that's the 20th of June, or July, then they'll be giving out item gifts, including Pokemon incenses for Plusle and Minun to help you befriend and raise these Pokemon. Now, so that's all the stuff that excites me. But let's get into why I'm not necessarily so excited. This event last year, the first anniversary, it was so exciting to get 3 new lines all at once that weren't linked to an island. And it gave the Paldean starters something that made them very interesting and exciting. Now this year, we're getting the Hoenn starters, and I was hoping that they'd kind of get the same treatment of a full event focused around them. But if you look at the news here, sure, it gives us some details about their typing, it gives us some details about their sleep style and where they're going to spawn, which is all good information. But a lot of the announcement is taken up by Plusle and Minun, because they are getting new unique main skills, which implies that they're going to be skill specialists. My concerns here, and maybe these concerns aren't warranted, we'll only see as time goes on. But my genuine concerns here are the devs. They've been going on a long streak of doing things that seem kind of greedy. Now, I've had a lot of grace, I guess, in my heart, and a lot of like optimism that, okay, maybe this is all just coincidence. I thought it was all kind of coincidence of reasonable additions to be added, but it just so happened that they all went back to back to back. Because we had Darkrai, which that in itself was obviously designed to get people to spend biscuits. Honchkrow, Murkrow, 16-pip Pokemon, skill specialist, gonna get people to spend their biscuits, gonna get people to spend their main skill seeds. Another heavy investment. Mawile, a 16-pip ingredient hunt, which is the hardest type of Pokemon hunt in this game, because it has to care about both sub-skills and ingredient list, unlike other Pokemon. And then we just got another 16-pip Pokemon. I'm blanking right now, Farfetch'd, another ingredient specialist, 16 pips. One that people have been begging for the longest amount of time. I thought that it was kind of coincidence, but this, I don't know if I can justify this with coincidence. Now, maybe you could say they just want to give us a bit more to make the second anniversary more exciting, but why is it that we're not getting any news about the main skills of these Hoenn starters? A lot of people thought they were going to be skill specialists. A lot of people thought they're going to have unique main skills. I saw a lot of theorizing about what Unburden could look like with Sceptile, what Speed Boost could look like as a main skill implemented in Pokemon Sleep with Blaziken. I didn't really see many theories on what Damp could look like, because that would just be kind of confusing. So Swampert was probably going to get something pretty basic anyway, either way. But I saw a lot of interesting speculation and theories in the Discord and throughout the community. And now it looks like they're not going to be getting that, because every time that we see a new main skill, it's always announced in the Pokemon's announcement. That's been the case for pretty much forever. They always give it in this little announcement, and the only ones that they made that announcement for is for Plus and Minus on Plusle and Minun. And I like the idea behind this, but I don't like the direction and what it implies. So what do these main skills do? Plus is a variant of Ingredient Magnet S, and Minus is a variant of Cooking Power-Up S. Now, that's got really good synergy by right off the bat, because Ingredient Magnet S, if you have a good Pokemon that does that skill, it's going to produce a boatload of ingredients. More ingredients than what you really can consume under most circumstances. And then Cooking Power-Up S is a skill to help you consume excess ingredients. So, because it gives more cooking pot space. So, but then they also get an additional buff if there's one or more other Pokemon on the team with that main skill. Well, it seems like it's just going to be Plusle and Minun. Because if you look at other Pokemon throughout the base games that have Minus or Plus, there aren't really that many options. Pretty much we've got Toxtricity in either of its forms, so maybe this is alluding to Toxtricity one day. Or Clink Clang is another option. Or the Manectric line for Minus specifically, but then that leaves Plus. Ampharos is already in the game, Dedenne is already in the game. I think people would be upset if they change their main skills, because they've already invested them thinking that they're going to be keeping what they have. So, changing that would be inadvisable. So pretty much the only options are Toxtricity or Klinklang for plus, and Klinklang or Electrike or Toxtricity for minus. So there aren't too many options, and the one that's more interesting for this purpose is honestly plus, because there's an extra note that says the additional ingredients will be the same as the first ingredient slot of the Pokemon that use the main skill. So it's ingredient magnets, but then it gets a few bonus ingredients if there's another Pokemon on the team with plus or minus. But this is going to be the case. The A ingredient is fixed, unless they make it different than every other Pokemon in the game. Then the A ingredient is fixed. So it's just going to produce the same one on every single Plusle that's out there, because they're all going to have the same A ingredient. If this skill was distributed to more Pokemon, at least if I'm reading this correctly, if this skill was distributed to more Pokemon, then there might be more interesting synergies with targeting specific ingredients. Maybe only one of them is going to be a skill specialist, and the other is going to be an ingredient specialist. Who knows? We really don't know how they're going to look, but I assume that since they're a pair, they're going to look relatively similar, and probably going to be a skill specialist since they're so focused around their unique synergistic skills. So, I don't know what it's going to look like. Only time will tell. But one thing that I'm really not excited for is the fact that this is 2 new 16 pip hunts to add on to all of the 16 pip hunts that I already previously discussed. All the expensive hunts that we previously looked at. And on top of that, not only are they new 16 pip Pokemon, but they're new 16 pip Pokemon that almost require that you hunt for 2 of them. And not only that you hunt for 2 of them, but 2 of them with good stats that are reasonable to... it's reasonable to use them both on the team at the same time. It's going to make them... very few players are going to ever catch 2 that are good enough to use side by side. Getting 2 pluses is going to be excessive, because you're going to be producing too many ingredients. Getting 2 minus Pokemon is going to be excessive, because you're going to be eating too many ingredients. So, it's going to be very difficult to build around, and you're going to really need 1 of each. And there's 16 pip hunts, which are already arguably not worth it, and you need to get 2 of them for either of them to be viable. And then on top of that, they're each main skills that currently go up to level 6, level 7 on the case of Ingredient Magnet S if they keep it the same as the base skill. Actually, they both go up to level 7. Okay, that makes it even worse, because then that's 6 main skill seeds for each of them. You're talking 12 main skill seeds of investment and 32 pips of catching, and that's assuming that the first one is good of each. So, that's a very, very expensive cost for this combo. Now, something very interesting about this combo is Raikou. These guys, as much as I don't really want to be considering them, because I think that it's a sign that the devs are really just trying to get us to spend as many biscuits and try to focus. Try to take our attention away from the 5-pip Pokemon they're giving us that could be good. They're trying to take our attention away from this. They're even giving us free... Look at this, guys. Including, in the gift, we'll be including Pokemon instances for Plusle and Minun to help you befriend and raise these Pokemon. Doesn't mention Trico, Torchic, and Mudkip, the ones that people have been excited about for weeks leading up to this, and people have been theorizing about for months, honestly. No, we're trying to try to make you befriend Plusle and Minun, and it feels like it's targeted to try and get us to focus our attention on 16-pip Pokemon that should not be worth our investment unless we're whaling the game, to maybe try and entice people to spend more money on the biscuits in the game. And I love this game, but I don't want to see so many people fall into the 16-pip Pokemon trap, and just hunt them for days and days and months and years, maybe even, because it's fun. At what point does your hunt for the Pokemon that you love cause you a lack of fun because you're not going to be getting the one that you want? It's too expensive. They're too expensive, and I'm a bit disappointed to see this, because a lot of people wanted this, and we're getting this on top of it and trying to take our attention away from this, it feels like, to me at least. Maybe that's criticism where criticism isn't deserved. Now, what could this mean for these starters? Well, this could mean a couple things. One, we don't actually know that they're going to be skill specialists for sure. That feels like a lot of skill specialists if all 3 of them are skill specialists, but we still don't have a starter trio of skill specialists, and I still think that'd be kind of cool. And last time when they introduced the Paldean starters, they eventually became kind of meta-defining in their own right. Skeledirge, hands down, best ingredient specialist for apples. Nothing even competes. Sprigatito, first mono potato option out there, and one of our few milk Pokemon. And as far as milk goes, very good for it. Not quite as good as Blastoise, but a great secondary option. And the strongest for potatoes still to this day. And Quaxley, at the time, the best leak producer, hands down, and was that way for months. And still is the best non-16 pip leak producer in the game. So, all three of them great in their own right, and very powerful in their own ways. And kind of meta-defining for a long, long time after their release. And arguably still very relevant in the meta. So what's the way that they could do that if they leave these guys as skill specialists and make them skill specialists? Well, I think the way to... If they're not giving them a new main skill, like a lot of people thought it was going to be, because they're giving the new skills to Plusle and Minun, then I think that the best way for them to go about that would be by giving us skills that are not previously available or very accessible. I think the best ones to really look at that would be ones like... Tasty Chance S, I think, is pretty high likelihood if they are going to be skill specialists. Just because, as of right now, our only options are 16-pip Pokemon. And they all have that problem. I think it'd be meta-defining if we got a genuine Tasty Chance Pokemon that was 5-pip option. It would make it so much more accessible for newer players to access that side of the game. And Tasty Chance S is its own world of strategy. So I'm really hoping that that's something they do. But if they are trying to drag our attention away from them, then I doubt that's going to be something to give. Especially since Dedenne is a 16-pip Pokemon. That is one way the devs could prove me wrong, is by giving Tasty Chance S to one of these guys and making them a skill specialist that's comparable in output to Dedenne. Doesn't even need to be better than Dedenne, just comparable. And then I think it will be meta impactful. Because Dedenne is such a difficult hunt for so many people. Seeing that on a 5-pip Pokemon that has 2 evolutionary stages would be huge. And that's a very easy way that the devs could prove me wrong in saying that they're trying to drain our biscuit supply. Or at least one way they could contribute to that. Now, other ones that I think would be very fun to see, some sort of skill copy. Now, I do kind of doubt this because in the past, anytime that we see even like... So, I guess the biggest example, if we drop from Mimikyu to Braviary, they gave an announcement for just giving us Berry Burst. Not Disguise Berry Burst, because Disguise Berry Burst came out first. They gave us an announcement when they were adding Berry Burst to the game, just the basic form for Braviary. So we'd kind of expect to see that if they gave us a new skill copy variant. But these ones are so, like, literally they're only different in the name and animation. So... I don't know that it could be skill copy. I think that'd be very fun and interesting. Because there are some people that already use skill copy. Like, I've seen plenty of people that use Mr. Mime as a skill specialist because they like the skill so much and like his versatility. So that's another one that could be potential because it doesn't really have a great option. I'd like to see a Dream Shard Magnet Pokemon that's 3 stages. Given that it's now one of the only main skills that... Or literally the only main skill that goes up to level 8. Having 2 free main skill seeds on that by just evolving it twice, I think is, once again, worthwhile, even if it is a little bit worse than Swalot. Just because you get one extra free main skill seed off of it. Otherwise, I think Berry Burst is another potential outcome, just because of the whole, like I said, 3 stages of evolution thing. And Ingredient Draw in some variety is another interesting one to think about. As it seems that's a route that they're kind of heading towards for a lot of main skills. But once again, runs in the same thing as skill copy. If they were giving us a basic ingredient draw, we'd probably just be told about it, as they did that with Berry Burst before. So, there's some potential. Ingredient Magnet is another one that doesn't have a good 3-stage Pokemon, but they're already giving us Ingredient Magnet through Plusle. So I don't see that necessarily happening. We technically don't have a 3-stage for Energizing Cheer. But who wants that is a good question. Energizing Cheer. It's an alright skill. I think it's a balanced skill. But the problem is it's a balanced skill that exists alongside Energy for Everyone. Which is a broken skill that does the exact same thing. So that's what makes Energizing Cheer a bit useless in the current state of the game. So there's some potential of what it could be. Now, another possible option that I've seen some people theorize is these guys becoming berry specialists because they do change their typing. That would make Sceptile overlap with Meganium for its typing, but then for ground and for Blaziken and Swampert, this would be amazing if they're berry specialists. Just because ground typing, currently the only thing we have in the game for ground berries is Marowak. Literally one of the worst, or the worst berry specialist in the game. No questions asked as of right now. And arguably one of the top contenders for absolute worst Pokemon in the game is Marowak. Now, Swampert could power creep that significantly, and if that is the case, then I am so sorry to anyone who caught a great Marowak or loves Marowak, because this would make it completely irrelevant. As for Blaziken, it's got a bit more competition because of Primeape, but Primeape still isn't an amazing Pokemon. It's still kind of mid at best, and that's if you're being kind of generous. It is a little bit below the bar for mid, so it would have decent competition, but not nearly as much. But it would be competing with Sceptile and Meganium for an island, but it wouldn't necessarily be competing with them in the case of Expert Mode. It would only be competing with Primeape, as it would be fighting type competing with only Primeape for fighting type berries. So that's another possible route. I don't know what their main skills would look like in that case, but if they're berry specialists, that seems a lot more boring. And I feel like if they're berry specialists, then once again, that's kind of the devs trying to make the event not really all about these guys, and trying to make the excitement focused on these guys. And I'm begging all of you out there watching this video, if that is the case, and the devs could prove me wrong by giving us cool stuff on these guys, but if that is the case, please do not fall in the trap. Just hunt the 5 Pip Pokemon while they're boosted. Don't waste your biscuits on these guys. If they're hungry, you know what? Fine, feed them your daily biscuit. Get like a ton of pips filled. But don't go out of your way and waste all your resources on them. It's going to be very expensive, and you're probably not going to get something good that you're going to end up using. Just hunt the Pokemon that you can actually somewhat use, and that are actually reasonable catches and reasonable levels of rarity. So, now, one other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is a very last-minute thing that really means nothing to nobody, or really means nothing to anybody, except for maybe me. But something that I noticed that's very intriguing, Swampert is ground type. Swampert is slumbering type. Now, the reasoning why this is significant is for the longest time, if you go through and you look at all of the Pokemon in the game, if I take a look at the Pokedex, and I look at the currently released ground-type Pokemon, we have Dugtrio line, which are both snoozing type, and we have Marowak line and the Marowak line, which are both slumbering type. Ground has been up in dispute as to whether or not it is slumbering or snoozing the whole time. For those of you that don't know, every single type in the game has a loose correlation to a particular sleep style. I made a quick little spreadsheet here just to document this. I didn't put down ground. Oh, I did put down ground for now. So, ground is missing right now because it is either slumbering or snoozing because there's only one of each line. And it fits in both. We all kind of assumed that ground would kind of be snoozing because then it'd be 6 types in each column, each type. That would make the most logical sense. But they've now confirmed by Marshtop and Swampert's edition being slumbering type that it appears ground type is intended to be slumbering. So, there's an imbalance in the types versus sleep styles. And instead of Marowak being the exception, like we kind of thought it was, it's actually Dugtrio that's the exception here. So, it's snoozing type, and we don't know why. But that's a very interesting thing. For those of you that are wondering, the exceptions are baby Pokemon are slumbering, the Slowpoke line and Diglett line now is an exception for snoozing type when they shouldn't be, and then Delibird, the Mankey line, Vigoroth, and Psyduck specifically are all exceptions that are dozing when they wouldn't normally be based off their typing. Each one of these makes sense in lore sense, like baby Pokemon, more likely to slumber because they're babies. Slowpoke line, okay, I don't actually get why that one's an exception, but they gave it to it. Diglett, don't get that exception either. I guess the snoozing ones I'm most confused about. Delibird, it gets Insomnia and Vital Spirit in main game, which means it doesn't sleep, so it makes sense that they didn't put it in Slumbering and gave it Dozing. Mankey line, it's an angry monkey. I don't think that thing could slumber at all. Vigoroth is supposed to be an energetic teenager, basically. So they put it in Dozing, even though it should belong in Snoozing based off its typing. And Psyduck has constant headaches. So once again, could that thing snooze? Or no, it did slumber because it's water type. Could that thing slumber? I don't think so. They put it in Dozing instead. But those are all the exceptions. And now we know Diglett's the exception, and ground type is supposed to be slumbering. That's an update that I think I'm the only person in the world that cares about it, but I wanted to mention it anyway because it's something interesting that I noticed. That's pretty much everything for this news tonight about the anniversary event. I do intend to do an anniversary event strategy guide, probably to release sometime a little bit later this week. If you do want to watch that strategy guide video where I go more in depth about particular tips and tricks about this specific event, then be sure to subscribe so that you know when that comes out and turn on notifications. Down in the description, we've got the link to join the Discord. You can come join us, hang out, talk about all things Pokemon Sleep and the like with a cool community of people that's always talking about it. And huge thank you to all of my channel members. It really means a lot to me that you all want to show your support in that way. If you too want to become a channel member and are financially capable of doing so, feel free to click that join button down below. And as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.